Welcome back to Blender Sushi LiveNoding. In this episode, I want to take a look at how we can procedurally make like a kind of like a piano string using Blender. So let's get started. There's a couple of ways to do this. I actually made two different versions. So the first one, I thought, okay, the string itself should be really simple. Basically, if you have like a two Bezier curve, I want to be able to kind of loft between the two curve. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. I have two different curve, so two Bezier curve, one down there and the other one is up here, and we can make changes. And if I update it, okay, this one, the bottom one doesn't loft exactly, but the top one actually does. So I can make changes here, and yep, with some magic it changes. But you might notice that the line itself is not completely, it doesn't have like equal number of steps, but that's maybe for later. I just want to explain how I created this. So all right, so let's take a look. We have two Bezier curve, and I bring the Bezier curve into geometry nodes, and inside geometry nodes we have this ability to change the number of the string. So this actually simply using the resample curve. I didn't use the length, instead I'm using just the normal count. So the number of count of string is here, and I can make changes, and I simply turn the curve back into mesh object. And after I do that, I bring the output of this geometry nodes output into SVerchok, and inside SVerchok I'm actually separating both the curve, and here I'm using vector rewire to straighten this curve. Otherwise we can basically, we want to loft it, and once we loft it, we use these UV connections. The secret is actually this node over here, UV connections in SVerchok. You can have two curve or grease pencil, and then you basically should be able to make lofting between the two curve. So SVerchok actually have over 600 nodes, and even now sometimes I don't know everything. I forgot some of the nodes, but SVerchok actually can do that, especially this particular node over here. The other one might be a little bit more straightforward. The other method here, I have this like a pasta, so we can make like a something like this quite easily. Pasta or coins, yep. So depending on the length of the curve, so this is let me show you. I'm using both SVerchok and geometry nodes. They're kind of like complementary to each other. Look at this. Okay, with SVerchok I have this line, this curve mapper, so I can change the curve, and you can see in this, with this method, the line itself is actually have some kind of equal distance. I can make quick changes. So this is the power of procedurality. It's not always the most straightforward to set up, but once it's set like this, you know, it's really simple to use. So let me show you. This is okay, this is just a simple lines, and the lines we can control the number of lines, the number of points. All right, so this is SVerchok thing. Here I'm using curve mapper, but I first normalize the line itself using map range. I'm only looking at the x coordinates or the position. So basically I'm remapping the curve using this graph. This is more straightforward to set up. Definitely you can also use noise to displace whatever, but we want to have more control like this, so it's kind of nice to be able to do this. And then we can multiply the curve, based on this number if you want to be precise and exact. For example, make this 15. I will use paste it to 15, and then I can add the curves, kind of offsetting the curves, so we have like a graph. So this can be like a string for the piano, right? More or less. Again, here I'm using UV connections. This is really useful and powerful. And separate loose. Okay, I bring this into geometry nodes as the curve. This is just for preview, and the curve, the actual curve is beta, currently hidden. I bring this inside geometry nodes, and inside geometry nodes we simply resample it based on the length if you want to create coins. So this is the coins. You can replace it with donuts, anything, basically anything. The other one, curve to mesh, is simply to bevel. Here I'm creating a pasta. So this is like a pasta based on this curves string, right? So it's a pretty simple and easy to set up, but it's always expandable, and the power comes with the nodes is that it's not destructive. You can always add and improve the setup, make it like your own. Here, yeah, this is the pasta creations. Originally, I just wanna make like this kind of piano string. Okay, with piano string, definitely for this kind of thing, you need to have like a procedural setup, and of course, to set up all of this is like a headache. To do it by hands, you need to be able to have like a to set up a points, maybe like looking at each and every details like this. And then yeah, the idea is really to have like a bunch of lines for your piano or points, and then connect the dots using script or using nodes. I think nodes is much easier. With geometry nodes, doing this kind of thing might be slightly tricky, but with SVerchok it's really simple if you know how to do it. So it's basically like a lofting. I think Houdini or Maya also have similar things. You just loft a curve, and then you get a curve that with a bit of control, and you can have strings based on that curve. All right, so hopefully you find this useful. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.